Here we go. And if you didn't see my note, I will let you know for those who are watching currently and those who will watch it in the future. Here we go. I was at the gym, so running a bit late. Hashtag see Tigress run, hashtag fit to run. All right, here we go. Let's see. All right, let me say good day to you all. All right. Let me make sure I've got this there. Okay. All right. So without further delay, I am your host, Tigress Sydney Acute McDaniel, and this is week 18, y'all, of a 52-week series on how to implement a more perfect union. If you're just joining me, I call this platform Evolve Weekly, and weekly we engage politics, the political realm, and we learn a little bit more from state to state, and as we survey their political culture, if you will, and we identify progressive candidates that we need to get behind, those who are ethically driven for the purposes of our platform, we call them on the right side of justice. And it's nonpartisan in one regard. Now, some of our assumptions, however, for those of you who understand scientific, for those of you who understand scientific assumptions, because I am a doctoral level scientist, I'm applying that use of the term, not the social assumption, but the scientific assumption. So we must have some things, we'll call them, that we agree upon so that we can enlarge our study and our research therefrom and build our hypothesis therefrom as well, and decide whether or not further study is necessary in the respective areas of interest we are exploring. Okay, all right. So part of those assumptions are that not every Republican is going to be a bad guy, and equally, not every Democrat is going to be a good guy. However, generally, here's our assumption, generally, the Democratic disposition is the disposition that is on the right side of justice. So there will be times where I will speak about that specifically, using that term on the right side of justice, and there will be a presumption, of course, that that individual is Democratic. If they are not, I will go into further detail on that same matter. All right, so today, what we're handling, rewind, what we're doing is, again, we're surveying state to state. And today we are going to survey the state of Mississippi. Now, I am, let's say, to say the very least, a bit concerned. This is a state that is of grave political importance as it relates to the African Americans living, of course, in America. African Americans, those who are diasporan as well, who don't necessarily identify with their native origin as Africa, but maybe origins that are of other minority cultures or ethnicities or ethnic groups, which aren't actually minorities, but the minority is what, you know, again, one of those scientific assumptions for America, okay? And you see that we are soon becoming a majority in many senses of the word. And I believe that's why we have so much turmoil right now. Many suspicions are hinged upon with regards to white supremacy and maybe the resurgence of it, or maybe the increased presence, you know, very extrovert presence of that movement under the suspicion, right, that, and the theory that that group is somehow threatened by our increased population here in America. All right, so Mississippi should be very interesting if we consider those things, okay? So we begin each week with my affirmation, and I take it very seriously. May I further enlarge our collective and individual understanding on the topics that we will discuss, and may I not cause further divide. All right, let's go. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. This is completely in real time. Again, I try to, give a nod to new viewers while not taking too much time for returning viewers, so that we just kind of dive right on into the subject matter. What we're going to do for new viewers, I share my screen. It's an impromptu format in a lot of regards, right? And we are going to literally first Google or just search, if some of you are having aversion to Google, and I understand it, trust me, I understand it. And we are going to use a search engine, find the legislature, the body of legislators, the individuals, right, the politicians, and then therefrom survey their political culture. We're going to count, literally take a tally on their Democrats versus their Republicans, and without just looking at or a red or blue map, if you will, we're going to dive just a bit deeper and look at their committees, look at their recent legislation that has been passed, and things of that nature. Try to get an idea of the diversity, if it exists, both gender and ethnic, and even age, in their body of legislators. All right, so here we go. I'll share my screen, and you're welcome at any time to post a question in the comments, and I've got both screens going so that I can take a moment and answer your questions, or if you have comments, to enlarge our collective understanding, please do not hesitate. All right, here we go. All right, let me share my screen here. Okay. Mississippi, Mississippi. Okay. Let's hope for the best. We've been getting some really good information in states that are widely, stereotypically believed to be Republican majority. And if not Republican majority, these are states that are widely known as predominantly inhabited by white residents or Caucasian residents, right? All right, so we'll go here. Oh, well, not Wikipedia. I'm tripping. They can't help us. All right, so we're going over here to the Mississippi Legislature. The reason why I do this in real time and I share my screen is twofold: to eradicate the ideology that there is some political class, and to completely obliterate the intimidating factor that goes along with the political realm, and to show you just how readily available this information is to everyone that has a computer or a smartphone, any device that has, internet capability. You can use it to search this information, and it is readily available in the palm of your hands. Okay, all right. So let's go here. Okay. Let's see. All right. What we're also considering, we're taking a look at this as well, is how user-friendly the website is. Again, lending toward the obliteration of the intimidating factor of this political realm, right? And we see here, I do like the fact that they have flash elements because it looks more modernized, right? It appears on par generally to the more modernized websites. All right, so we have representatives, we have senators, we have a Senate roster, we have a House roster that they provide. So let's check it out. I'm not really sure the difference here. And again, this is another one of those situations where the real-time, transparent format of this series is intended for this exact purpose. And that purpose is to show you that even I, for those who would consider me a class member of the academic elite or even the academics, and somehow, to have this, this greater knowledge and ability. The truth of the matter is that I don't know everything, and no one does. And that's the great balance of humanity. And so I look at this, and self-explanatory wise, if I just use, employing my common sense without having any superlative knowledge, when they say House roster, I would presume that would be the House of Representatives. So this seems redundant when I see representatives and House roster. Then I see senators and I see Senate roster, and I feel the same way. So I'm very interested to see what we have going on. Okay, so we'll go to, I'm very curious. Let's go to roster first, see what we got. See if it's just literal. Okay. So it's 7 pages. And the roster appears to include the name and address, mailing address. Some of them are PO box, some of them are physical addresses. As a politician, having run before for office, we have the privy to list a mailing address as an alternative to our physical address, but our physical addresses must be reported to the state and the county board of elections for the purpose of verifying that we are eligible to run for whatever respective seat we are seeking, right? Especially if it's not an at-large seat. At-large seats are those for which a candidate can run and needn't live in any specific region of a county or state, because they will be serving the public that, that region, that state, that county at large in total, all of them, as opposed to if they're representing just a district, then that candidate must reside in that district and must show residence in that district. And for some offices, you must have been a resident for a certain amount of time to be eligible to vie for a seat, vie meaning to run for office, to compete, right? To vie for office in that particular district. Okay, so it looks like we have names and address. We have the district, looks like it's listed by county. I see Hines, Warren, Yazoo, as opposed to numbers. They're normally numbered, as we all know. Then we have the partisan designation, Republican, Democrat. Let's go back up here. Work phone, home phone. Please understand, there are a lot of politicians who still to this day list their physical address and their actual home telephone number that rings directly to their actual home or their cell phone number. I'm one of those individuals. I am very, how should I say? What I have noticed in my experience in running for office since 2013 is that those individuals who have a good reputation generally with the general public consistently list their physical address, as opposed to just giving the physical address to the Board of Elections and then listing their mailing address, which may be a PO box or, office outside of their home. And they also list their telephone number, direct home number or their cell number. I've noticed that the individuals who have a good reputation with the public, they consistently do that. I am one of those individuals. I've not ever had anyone come to my home, knock on my door, disturb the peace that we have, me and my son. I've not ever had anyone call and be irate, because I don't exercise. I don't live my life like that. And I believe very strongly that we should seek to employ, because they are employees of ours, when they serve us. We know that. Sometimes we forget that because of the disposition, the corrupt disposition that some of the legislators take. And so they act like they are in control, and somehow we have no power in this process. But that could not be farther from the truth, not for and further, like literally the distance and literally the figurative distance between those two concepts, right? All right, so telephone numbers are listed and email address, okay? I've noticed that, of course, when the individual is actually elected, then of course they are assigned an official government email. And then of course, sometimes, very often I do, I've not been elected yet, but I intend to maintain my professional political website email address, even if I am elected and receive an official email address. So I'll maintain them both. It's relevant for many reasons. It's relevant because when their term ends, they must seek office again. So they must run for office again. And it's best to maintain that same individualized, separate political website, so that when those campaigns arise, that campaign cycle for the next election arises, that you have that there and you have the consistency for that. And for me, mine is, of course, ctigressrun.com. And my email address is evolve@ctigressrun.com, or ctigressrun.com. Several others as well, depending on your reason for contact. Okay, so it looks pretty straightforward. I'm getting the impression that maybe this is just to be able to have the convenience to print it out. That's all right with me. I like that, because otherwise, what we've seen from every other state, and this is also a great point that we can add, an opportunity, right? That we can add to our strategic implementation plan that will be organized on the findings from our survey, right? And so there are different acronymous methods that are used for organizing a strategic implementation plan. And they are, they're based on SWOT. Sometimes they're based on SMART goals, so SMART. And I've gone over those before, but basically when I refer to opportunities, you think of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, right? Threats, right? And then on the SMART end, you think, is it measurable? Is it attainable? Is it realistic? And you consider time and things of that nature, right? I have coined SMARTer goals, having the E represent emotional intelligence. Is it emotionally intelligent? Is it objective? Because realistic is not necessarily does not necessarily apply as reasonable when you're considering emotional intelligence and imagined communities and bringing them together. So emotional intelligence is very important in that. And then there are other elements that are important as well that we can consider as we continue on. But okay, so, and then, excuse me, the R in my coin revision, if you will, to the original SMART goals, smarter with the ER. So E, again, emotional intelligence, and R being the ROI. The return on investment is more applicable when you are, more specifically applicable when you are devising a strategic implementation plan for a business entity, a for-profit business entity, but it does have its relevance in the political realm with regards to seeking and measuring the change that we seek, the transformation, the legislation that we seek to have change, the sweeping reform, criminal justice reform. So that can be a return on investment, our investment being our vote, right? Our vote being the way that we invest into our political engine, right? Okay, all right. So, interesting. It looks, with that said, this is something that can be, a good talking point, and not only just a talking point, but it would be great if each state's legislative body would create a roster that could be easily printable, right? Or easily, saved as a PDF, and then, of course, later PDF'd or pulled up on a device. This format is definitely more user-friendly than attempting to just pull up the list that they have, which I'm assuming is the difference between the roster and the listing of the representatives that we've seen consistent with the other states that we've surveyed. And basically it will show a picture, and we'll see if that's accurate, for Mississippi here in just one second. They show a picture, and then they have the information on the legislator over to the right or to the left of the picture. And that can scroll down some 20 pages. And you may not want, their pictures, but I guess that would be good too, where you could, print that out so you could easily cross-reference the same. I see very good application in that. But yeah, maybe that's the difference. So I can appreciate the fact that they have a roster as that is different from the actual listing on the website. So let's see what that is. Okay, so we'll go to the representatives. Oh yeah. Yeah, so they don't even, Now, this makes perfect sense why they have a roster. Perfect sense. So Mississippi, unlike the other states, does not even list the representatives as I just explained, right? Photograph of legislator, information over to the side, information like their party, their government mailing address, maybe their government office, at the state legislative building, their official government email, and then maybe their official government website separate from the collective legislative body. We have seen where they also list, the state of Washington was very interested in this regard. And I believe the state of Hawaii does the same. They listed the social media accounts that each legislator maintains, which is really, really cool. So there's different things that can be listed on that side. So they don't have that. So now it makes sense why they have a roster. But I would say that I really do appreciate the fact of having the pictures. The pictures are relevant. They're relevant to us all. And it's relevant for learning. If you think of education, you think of visual learners and hands-on learners. As I would consider myself a multi-dimensional learner. I like to do it all. I want to be hands-on. I want to see it. And when I'm studying, I have to rewrite. That's, my notes. And it doesn't seek in like osmosis, but that repetitive and intentional repetitive act helps me to remember the notes, if you will. So, interesting. So I would have preferred to see the pictures, but let's keep on going. Let's see what we got here. So, of course, when you click on, you see the pictures. And again, this would make sense for Mississippi, why a roster would be helpful, because I guess you could print this out, but then ultimately you'd be printing out all of these. And we don't have a tally, but it definitely looks like more than 100, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So there's 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So yeah, it's over, we're looking at 120 legislators for the House of Representatives, right? Not including the Speaker of the House and the Speaker pro tempore, or pro tem is what you normally hear the abbreviation, right? So you'd be printing out 122 individual kind of information sheets, if you will, on each legislator, as opposed to printing out the roster, which allows you to do so with 7 pages. So interesting, very, very interesting. And some things work best for, different regions. So I'd be very interested in finding out how they decided upon this. Very, very interested. Okay, but it would be nice to be able to see them all, because of the way that we're surveying. We don't have the time to go through each one and determine, just take a quick look at their ethnic diversity and gender diversity. And that would be that's important. It is, it's important. It's important to have representation. So I'm going to try to quickly go through them, and we're going to do this in speed fashion, right? I'm not going to count the Republicans and the Democrats just yet. And this also makes it a little difficult, but I'll do it on the roster, right? So here we go. Speed survey. Okay, let's see how many different individuals we see. Well, this is good. All right, let's leave that up. District 110. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, I have to go back. Open a new link. Okay, let's leave that up. Okay. And this is not to say that the Caucasian men are not important. We're not saying that. We're not saying that at all. Instead, we are, however, surveying realistically to see if we have enough representation diversity-wise. And again, that's for gender and ethnicity, right? Wow, this is a lot. So this would be definitely an opportunity to for change for them. Okay, because I'm even getting turned around a bit just to look at the ones that we need to repeat. Yeah, I don't like, this is not user-friendly at all. Okay, let me go back up here. Wow. Yeah, we'd have to do 120. There really is no way. And that was also African-American or appeared to be. Right now, we're batting all men. There's another African-American. So this whole row, all men. So this is interesting. And actually, we're going to presume, we're going to have an assumption that we're going to establish for the purpose of this survey, and this is not to exclude those who identify genderless or identify otherwise, right? Because they may be in the process of change for their identification formally. So again, this is not an intention to be inconsiderate of any of those individuals. And instead, we are going to have, just for the purpose of this survey, for the convenience and to expedite this survey for our 1 hour format, we're going to look at the names and we're going to use the general assumptions for male names versus female names. And I want to just get a survey of how many women are serving in the Mississippi House of Representatives right now, because it doesn't look like very many. Okay, so right now in this row, we have no women. Okay, let's go to the second row. Elise, let me take a tally here. Elise. Okay, Angela. Oh, nice. Okay, Carolyn. Okay, great. She's a former social worker. 1, 2, 3. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. Dana. You see, and we see that it doesn't always hold true. But thankfully, when we click on them, we can get an idea of whether or not they physically present as male or female, okay? At least in real time. So this is 4, Jerry, Oscar, Clay, Dan, Casey, okay? Michael, Bob, John, Kevin, Jill. Okay, that's 5. Still not a lot, considering right now. Stephanie. Okay, very good. Agriculture, education, military affairs. She looks like someone we need to know. Okay. Carl, Deborah. Okay. Awesome. She's in ethics. Okay. Okay, Dale. So that was so far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, only 7. Right. Let's go through these. Jeffrey, Jeff, Greg, Jeffrey, John, Stacy. That could go either way. So that is someone who presents as a woman. Gregory, Joey, Steve, Kevin, Stephen, Mac. I figured, that generally is related to a male, but I just wanted to check. Okay, Abe, Lataisha. Okay. So that's good. She looks relatively young. We definitely need to highlight the young representatives, because the young representatives generally, again, this is one of those assumptions we're going to establish with this format, that these young aspiring politicians who have been successfully elected, they represent, especially from my generation, our future. These are the individuals who, need to be in office with fresh ideas, and they will most generally be associated with having those progressive ideas. Now, some of them may be conservative, because that exists as well. And understand that not all conservatives are going to agree with other conservatives. They're not all going to have the same kind of mindset that is stereotypically associated with a conservative. Some conservatives, when really getting into their specific beliefs on particular issues, they may be more agreeable with progressives, right? And we all have our reasoning for the ideals that we adopt in life, right? Okay, so, but we're going to have the general viewpoint that our younger politicians will be the politicians that can help us with the transformation that we're seeking, because we're going to assume that they are, their disposition is consistent with those ideals, okay? All right, so we're going to come back to Lataisha, and she might be older. She may just look younger. We don't know, but let's keep going. All right, so let me tally her up. Okay, Robert Kabir. Okay, all right. So he presents as male, Black man appears to be. Bill, Timmy, John, Jonathan, Vince, Steve, Kent, Hester. Those are all normally male names. Let's just check here with Hester. See, I wasn't sure. This is my point. So this person presents to be a woman, looks like a woman to me. All right, so I'm going to write her down as well. Seems interesting. She's a nurse certified dementia practitioner. That's very, very important. Beautiful. Committee membership, conservation and water resources. Awesome. Drug policy, energy, gaming, public utilities. She definitely seems like someone we need to know. Okay, so let me go back. All right. Okay, so we counted her. Okay, Missy is normally, yep, woman's name. Okay. Jay, we have another Dana. This time, this Dana is female. Okay. Doug, Carl, Tom, Sam. Okay, that Sam is male. Ken, Jean. Okay, that Jean is male. Carl, Solomon. Solomon definitely is, yeah, a male's name, very typically. Jansen could go either way. That appears to be a man. Okay, Orlando, Randall, Bill, Daryl, Brent, John, Thomas, Rob, Robin could go either way. That's a woman. Okay, presents to be a woman. I don't want to be offensive, you know? Okay, Tracy, that could go either way. This is a male Tracy, it appears. Okay, Randy, Noah, Donnie, Maria, that definitely could go either way. So it looks like we have a woman here. Nursing home administrator. I love this. I love this. National Council of Negro Women, Federated Women of America, Association for Excellence in Education, and Beacon of Hope, Mississippi Scholarship Foundation. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. And she's been in office since 1993. Interesting. Okay. Where are we at? That was a Mary. Okay. Then Fred, Troy, just making sure that normally is definitely connected with a male. DeKeither, okay, so that's a man. Jody could go either way, that's a male Jody. Rufus, Zakiah, yeah, interesting. So we're gonna, she's a member of Zeta Phi Beta. Lataisha was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. It doesn't list their birth date. Some of them did, like with, not Hester, Maria, I believe it states that she was born in 1956. So we can calculate her age. These young ladies we don't know, but I'm going to write them down. Zakiah, I'm presuming is how to pronounce it. Okay, so let's go back. Okay. Zakiah, I can't even pronounce this one successfully on my own, I don't think. Chike, seems like a beautiful name. Okay, this is someone who appears to present as a man, of course, it looks like a man. Okay. Ricky, Joseph, Mark, Jerry, Kenneth, Price, that could go either way. We have a Pricey here in the state of North Carolina, and it is a woman. This one appears to be a man as well, like Chike. the names? Okay. All right. So Percy, that could go either way too. This is a man, appears to be a man. Tom, Sonia, yeah, a woman, Black woman, also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. Her age is not shared. Let's see, or cannot be inferred from the facts provided. So that was Sonia. Okay, Brady, Joseph, Lee could go either way. That is someone who presents as male, is a man. Shonda is a woman. And remember our count, we had 122 representatives, right? Charles and Henry. So that's not good. That's not good. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17 of 122 legislators for the House of Representatives, and only 17 are women. I am happy to say that it looks like most of the women are African American. There are some Caucasian women. It appears that there are, just comparatively significantly less Caucasian women in office than Black women. And that's interesting. That's an interesting dynamic because that's another assumption we can draw from generalizations. There are generalizations in history as it relates to the degradation of the Caucasian ideological viewpoints for their women being kind of second class to Caucasian men. So it seems to be consistent. And of course, conversely, when considering that dynamic and African-American women, we don't ascribe to that at all. So it would make a lot of sense why there are more African-American women in office. That's very, very interesting. That was interesting, but I do like the fact that we do see quite a bit of diversity. Don't like the fact that we had to actually click on everything to see the diversity. Really, really appreciate the way the other websites are set up where you can see the diversity immediately. So that is definitely an opportunity to update their website and how we can draft our strategic implementation plan and make those suggestions and recommendations professionally and otherwise, for the general public. Okay. All right. So we clicked on Jason, right? Yeah. But 2 Caucasian men are the head, if you will, of the House. Okay. And they look to be about my age. For those of you who do not know, I am 44. I'll be 45 in December. Philip Gunn, he evidently, occupation is an attorney. He serves on the Compilation, Revision, and Publication, Legislative Budget Committee, Management and Rules Committees. Okay, that makes sense because that ties in with parliamentary procedure. A lot of you are familiar with parliamentary procedure. Those of you are not. You may be familiar with me having said that I've served as parliamentarian and ombudsman for many organizations. That normally is consistent with someone who aspires to be a lawyer because of the rule-oriented and policy-oriented nature of law. Okay, so then go here. All right, so Jason White, he's also an attorney, management chair, appropriations, compilation, revision, and publication, congressional redistricting, education, judiciary A. I don't know what that is. That's interesting. I'm gonna take note of that really quickly. Ooh, judiciary there, that's a lot with theirs, good gracious. Judiciary and Bonk. And I'm doing this with you so that you can refer back to these videos and we can do it together. So it's not laborious or laborious for any one of us or any particular group of us, and that we can do this together and quickly survey and then identify where we need change, where we need to flip seats. If you're not familiar with that colloquialism, flipping seats, and I guess it's become even political jargon at this point, flipping seats normally means when you replace a Republican politician with a Democratic politician or vice versa, depending on what party is motivated for the change, right? So of course, for our purposes, we would more than likely be seeking to flip Republican seats to Democratic seats because of course, we ascribe to the generalization, our accepted assumption for this purpose, this survey, that the Democrats are going to be most closely connected and consistent in their disposition and their voting with the right side of justice, right? Okay. Now, these two committees I'm very interested in, Judiciary A, Judiciary en banc. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Okay. And again, this shows you, I don't know everything. I just don't. I don't know. I cannot know everything. And this is what we need to do, friends. All right. So this does show his age. He was born in 1972. So he is 4 years older than me. So he is just shy of 50 years old. And so his viewpoints can be, my generation, and every generation has inconsistencies, you know what I mean? Because there's a generational perceptive viewpoint, if you will, right? And then of course, people are individuals, so they may have, inconsistencies in that regard. So we really don't know, we can't just decide just on the basis of him being Republican and Caucasian, but it's not looking good based on, what we generally know here in America, right? Okay, and so both of these individuals are Republican, so we know that that's a Republican majority, right? Okay, all right, so we've already established that. Let's go over to the senators and then go ahead and wrap this up to see if we can get through so roster the same. They've got 8 pages of roster. This one for theirs, they actually do include the committees as opposed to the House of Representatives roster. It did not include the committees. And that makes sense when considering the fact that there are more pages for the Senate roster than the House of Representative roster, and the House of Representative roster does not list the committees. And we see why, because that section is larger, so it takes up more space. Okay, so you can print this out for your convenience. Those of you who reach my platform, and I hope you do, I'm so excited for this to reach, farther and farther across our country, from the West Coast to the East Coast to the corners of our nation. And I hope that you all will find great worth in this format, and that you will join me in these efforts to strategize and implement a more perfect union. Okay, so let's go back. All right, so we definitely have less senators, which is normal, than House of Representatives. That's very normal. Okay, for the delegations for each state. Most of y'all are familiar with that. It looks like we do still have 2 men that are head of the Senate. Let's see their ethnicity. We have a Delbert. I'm gonna tell you, I'm going to say this because I've received great input in the same regard. Okay, so he's a lieutenant governor, Delbert. When we see a picture like this, especially for minorities, maybe secondarily for African Americans, and then even under there, or they're under allies of minorities, this picture is not, it doesn't scream right side of justice. It doesn't. And it also doesn't scream right side of justice because it just seems to be a touting of him. This is about him. And even where this is, of course, his designated web link and web page connected to the Mississippi Legislature, that big picture and what it shows, how it can be perceived, can be very intimidating and very negatively, negatively analyzed, right? Okay, so, it doesn't tell, there's nothing, we don't find anything about him. I'd much rather, top cop, interesting, makes every effort to keep our capital safe. Thank you for your efforts. I'd rather see this picture up there. This, and even for the political realm, because again, like I said, I've received great input from individuals who run campaigns and have done, have great history and great experience and expertise in doing so. And they've run successful campaigns or they provided very effective consulting for the politicians for whom they consult. And I believe that they would concur that the picture at the top just does not depict, what you can see is the new, maybe not even new, but it's, with the onset of everything that we've experienced politically during Trump's administration and in recent change of the administration with Biden and the racial tension and things that are going on and things that have been exposed. When we see a picture like this, it just is just not going to be positively perceived. This picture instead would be at least more positively perceived than the one above, right? Okay, so let's go on. And then even this, just some diversity, Okay, so, and so I'm not really sure, but he does list his Twitter and his Facebook and Instagram. Let's see if the Instagram is him or it's just for the, okay, so the Instagram, this is his Instagram, proven and effective leader, conservative. We can definitely assume that validly already, sir. From your photographs, it's pretty obvious. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. I don't know about that one. I want to get you all's input. If you are joining me now, give me your input on this. And if you see this later, please comment. I will definitely come back and take a look at the comments. I want to know your input on this particular matter. All right, so let's go back. All right, because we only have 10 minutes here. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 for each row, 4 rows. So we're looking at, do your math, 72, right? All right, so let's see. And I said 72, I'm tripping, 42. So let's see. We already know that, again, it's so tough at times because, especially when you do have a disposition like mine and you want to be hopeful, you want to be optimistic, and you don't want, and you know the responsibility of your voice. I know the responsibility of my voice. Now, when there are times where I need to poignantly, yes, I can definitely be direct. You all have seen those videos. But when I'm generally just doing this objectively and taking the survey, I want to give the benefit of the doubt. That is a healthy psychological disposition to maintain, is to give the benefit of the doubt of everyone. Now, when that benefit of the doubt is abused, then of course, then you use that new information and you adjust accordingly, right? And in this case, it doesn't even appear to be a need to look at the partisan, makeup, because we already know that both the Senate and the House are. We presume that he's a Republican. It's not showing that, conspicuously on his page, but we presume that he is. And actually, I can look him up in a second here. Dean Kirby, Republican. Guys, I don't want to be mean. The goal is objectivity. It really is. But this is the stereotypes are just too easy. Now, we hope that these individuals are still yet positive and kind in some regard, but we have all of these indicators, if you will, right? Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, Republican, Caucasian male, born in 1946, 30 years my senior. So that mentality in that time frame. So this is prior to the civil rights movement. Okay, so we're all should be on the same page. Okay, if we are all rationally minded, we should be on the same page. So the only thing that I feel is absolutely necessary for the format of this 1 hour, in trying to, get an idea, the snapshot of Mississippi State Legislature, is to go through again and see if there's gender diversity. And when we look through, we will be able to find, if they exist, the ethnic diversity as well. So let's do that really quickly. All right, Juan, Jason, Barbara. Okay, Barbara's Black. Appears to identify as Black. All right. Kevin, David, Nicole, woman. She appears to be woman and appears to be Caucasian. All right. That was Nicole. Then Jennifer, Caucasian woman appears to be. Okay. Hobb. Okay, male, appears to be male, so we'll come out of that one. Albert, Joel, Chris, Lydia. Yeah, that normally is a woman's name. Okay. Kathy, woman. She appears to be Caucasian, maybe just with a tan, but not really sure. Okay, let's see. Dennis, Scott, Jeramey, Joey, Hillman, normally. Yeah, male's name. I love his African emblem there. I love that. Beautiful. Let's see. He was born in 1950. He seems to be aware of his Blackness, and that is indeed commendable. George Washington University, National Law Center, Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government. Yeah, seems like someone we need to follow and find out more information, see if he's doing anything really awesome for Mississippians. Interstate and Federal Cooperation Chair, Labor Vice Chair, Appropriations, Constitution, Elections. That's good, especially with all of the racially discriminatory election issues in Mississippi and even across the nation. But specifically, we're talking about rewind. Specifically, we're talking about Mississippi. So therefore, right, that's a tongue twister. So you have to give me a pass on that one. Insurance, investigate state offices. Oh, okay, Hillman. Public health and welfare rules, universities and colleges. Yes. And I'm hopeful, he's a Democrat. I'm hopeful all of these things tend to indicate that he is known in his respective region and in the state of Mississippi as an equalizer of sorts, if you will. Just like the Equalizer, the movie and the TV show with Queen Latifah, and some of you refer to me as the Equalizer, or that individual that is going to be on the right side of justice every single time, or and I would dare say the majority of the time, but every single time you can count on this type of individual, it looks like. So we definitely need to keep an eye on him. I'm going to see if he has social media presence along with the other young ladies, and then I will share their links on my Facebook page. Okay, so let's come on out of here real quick. Let's go back. All right, so that was Hillman. Josh, Angela. Okay, woman. W. Yeah, you wouldn't know. Okay. John Robert Sampson. Okay, that's also a man. Okay, appears to be Chris David Dean. Oh, yeah, that's Dean Kirby. What am I thinking? Yeah, okay, and then come out. Tyler, Chris, Michael, Chad. Yep. Jay. Okay. Philip Sollie, Sollie. Okay, interesting. He's a Mason, 33rd degree. He's a life member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. Interested. Also born in 1952. He's also part of the Ethics Committee, Municipalities, Peer, Drug Policy, Economic Workforce. He definitely seems like on par with Sollie. On par with Hillman, Norwood, and then we'll quickly wrap up here. So it's clear that Mississippians, there are those who exist who are fighting against the Republican status quo or the white supremacist status quo that once, and maybe even arguably still has terrorized Mississippians. So it's beautiful to see that they're at work. And accordingly, then those would be the individuals we need to make sure that they have our support, because it can be very difficult for politicians who are on the right side of justice to be in a realm with politicians who are not on the right side of justice and trying to fight that good fight without the general public knowing that, hey, we exist and we really need your support and help. Otherwise, they're just fighting by themselves. And they deserve our support nationwide, because the legislation that is passed state to state affects us all. It may not affect us all directly, but it affects us all ultimately, and at the very least indirectly. And we want to show that solidarity with those who are on the right side of justice across the nation. Okay, that's what I'm encouraging us all to do. All right, let's hurry up here. David, Rita. Okay, woman, appears to be white or Caucasian. John, Joseph, Derek, Sarita, woman. Oh, hair, I had to see that. That's wonderful. We want to see that. We come, just women like myself, we come to the table from fro to toe, you've heard, right? Very, very proud. It is our hair. It is our beautiful hair. You should not be embarrassed to wear your hair in professional settings, because it no less makes you a professional. It has absolutely no bearing on your professional capabilities. And if anything, in my opinion, it designates you as quite apt. All right. So Delta Sigma Theta. So this is another individual who we can look at, Sarita Simmons. We may spend one more, maybe 30 minutes. Maybe I'll choose a state that's kind of, quote unquote, an easy survey, kind of like California was. And then we'll come back on Mississippi, because it looks like we really need to dive some more into this, especially again, where we need to be their allies in solidarity for the transformation that they are working toward in that state. We do not need to we should not ever allow them to have to fight alone for this collective transformation that we're seeking. It's not a good look. We need to support them from state to state. We are one. This is how we get the transformation done. This is how we implement a more perfect union. Okay, so let's come back. out of here. So that's what we're going to do, because clearly we're over time now. It's 5:33, and there is more to survey here. But let's go ahead and finish this part out, at least on the gender survey. Okay, so that was Sarita. Right, where we at? Okay, Melanie. Okay, appears to be, I'm not really sure, Sojourner. I'm not sure. She might be of European descent. I'm not really sure. Let's see, Daniel, Benjamin, Jeff, Joseph, Mike, Angela. Okay, that's another Delta Sigma Theta member. Okay, she's an attorney. Oh yeah, we got to come back. We got to hit these. 1971, she's my generation. Okay, let's see here. It was Angela, Neil, Bryce, Bart, Tammy. Hold on one second. And Tammy could be either way. Let's see. Okay. Alpha Kappa Alpha. Let's see. She's a Sag like me, born December 10th. Let's see. Okay. So what we see again is that we don't have enough representation in Mississippi for women. And even more negatively impressive, because it's not a good thing. It's impressive in a bad way, quote unquote. Their Caucasian female representation is considerably low. So we have a head count of, wow, 10 female legislators or female senators, right? And we have a count of 42. And then when we include these two, so Delbert is not included in this main list. And again, that's why I just feel like we got some issues here. I'm concerned about that part. And then Dean Kirby, see, he's included. Let's go back. Let me test that theory really quickly. So Jason White, is Jason White in here? Is it? And then we'll sign off. Yeah, my theory is correct. And this just comes from my investigative background. I just feel everything that I am gathering from these different indicators, how he's depicted on this website. And what I'm getting, I'm going to share with you, is that it all, points toward narcissism, white supremacy, or at the very least, male supremacist, just very self-centered. And he's a Republican, conservative. It just doesn't give a good read at all, not a good read. You notice this also, it's corroborated by the fact that Jason White is not included in this bunch. You see this? He's not. Philip Gunn, because they're all listed in alphabetical order. Philip Gunn is not listed here, right? So they are distinct, there's a distinction between them and the others. And it makes sense generally if we just, consider the fact that they are the leaders of the House, if you will. But then when you go to the senators, right? Dean is in the body. He's president pro tem, but he's in the body. And then the president of the Senate, Delbert, he doesn't appear in here. So it's just, it's interesting, but maybe it's just procedural, Okay, so now that we have surveyed, wow, that was interesting, right, people? That was interesting. Very, very interesting. We see that we need to spend a little more time on Mississippi. We do also see, which is very, very promising, that there is clearly a Black representation that appears to know that they are who they are. They are clearly aware of their Blackness and don't appear to water that down. We can further investigate that, of course, because these are just the surface indicators that we have. And we're going to visit Mississippi again in our next session, along with another state that will be an easier survey like California. Okay. All right. So thank you again for joining me for Evolve Weekly, and have a wonderful week. Bye.